Okay, welcome everyone to Thought Leader Thursday. I am Reverend Dr. Michelle Whittington, the Executive Director of ANTN, and a fill-in for our regular Thought Leader Thursday leader, who is Dr. PJ Stanley. PJ is heading off to a retreat this weekend, and so she asked if I would facilitate today's experience, and was planning to be here anyway because I can't wait to hear our beautiful speaker, and I gladly said yes. I'm happy to facilitate this morning. So welcome everyone. So glad that you are here. We know people are still popping in, but it is top of the hour, so we're going to begin like we begin all of our activities here, which is in prayer. And so I am wondering if there is anybody online who would like to offer an opening prayer.
I would.
I don't see who that was, but whoever it is.
Robert.
Robert.
Yeah.
Robert, please do it, Robert.
Thank you. So if you're in a safe space to join me in closing your eyes, I invite you to please do so. We begin by centering in on the breath. The inhale, the exhale, that sense of circulation, of beginning and renewal and completion. It is here in this very breath that I come to recognize the one, the power, the presence, the intelligence that's operating as all of life. And no matter what we call it, God, Buddha, Brahma, Yahweh, Vishnu, Kuan Yin, Muhammad, the oneness remains the same. It is the everything. It is the source and the supply of love and light and beauty, of truth and health and wealth and well-being and abundance. It is prosperity and joy. It is this conversation that we are entering into here this day. It is the one, it is everything, it is each and every person, each and every life form that is here in this meeting, those that are still working to be here with us, those that'll watch on a replay at another time, all part of this thing we call life, that we call God. One power, one presence, one infinite intelligence revealing itself perfectly. So I know that this is a divine conversation, that what needs to be said is said, that what need not be said is not. That we have come together to learn and to grow and to listen and to be a part of a divine revelation that is this Thought Leader Thursday. Life is good. And I am so very excited for what wants to be known, for what reveals itself here this day. As the one, as the collective that we call the Affiliated New Thought Network, as our dear guest, Reverend Sydney, and our host, Reverend Michelle. All is well and all is perfect, and I am so very grateful to be witness to it, to sink into it, and to be a part of the revelation. So I release this word into the creative law that is already operating upon it, the law of the universe that is already making it so, and invite you to join me in an affirmation of this truth as we say together, and so it is.
It is.
So it is.
So it is. Thank you, Robert, so much. Beautiful, beautiful. So a couple of things before we begin, before I introduce Reverend Sydney, Dr. Sydney, and I think we've all been on Zoom calls enough over the last 6 years, but a little Zoom protocol. First of all, if you're not speaking, if you would please make sure your microphone is muted. Sometimes we can get background noise and crazy stuff happening when we've got folks unmuted. So when you're not speaking, please mute yourself. But of course, remember when you do want to speak to unmute yourself. And speaking of speaking, we want these always to be interactive. And so Sydney's going to deliver some delicious, juicy information and deep pieces for us. But we also want this interactive. So there will be places where we pause and invite questions, comments. So just be thinking about, how is this applying to me? And what question do I have about this? Or what example do I have? Or be prepared and ready to engage in conversation. We really want that. And the last thing I would say, and this is, of course, you're always at choice at something like this, but it just makes this experience richer, I think, for all of us. If we have our cameras on. And I know sometimes because of technology, that's not possible, or you're having a bad hair day and you just really don't want to be on camera. I get all that. But if you could be on camera, it just makes it a richer experience. So I think that's all the housekeeping, if you will, things I want to say. And so I want to introduce probably a woman who doesn't really need an introduction, but I'm going to introduce you anyway, Sydney. So Reverend Dr. Sydney Steen is ordained in both religious science and interfaith traditions, and she is the community spiritual leader and senior minister of North Hollywood Church of Religious Science, a Oneness Center for Spiritual Living. Raised in religious science, and I want to know what that means, how old you were, but tell us that later. Raised in religious science, Dr. Sydney's commitment to spirit and to cultivating the unfoldment of the divine in all people is absolute. Her dedication to inclusivity, sacred activism, and social justice inform her life and her teachings and her speaking. She is also well known in the music world as a fierce jazz pianist, keyboardist, composer, and conductor. I did not know those things about you. I love knowing that. Sydney has worked with artists ranging from Shirley MacLaine, Dizzy Gillespie, the Pointer Sisters, some of my favorites, Sarah Brightman, another favorite, Robert Goulet, and even the Oregon Orchestra. Additionally, she spent literally thousands of hours playing keyboard in the orchestra pit of Broadway shows such as Les Miserables, Cats, Aida, Jesus Christ Superstar, Chicago, Spamalot, Beauty and the Beast, and last but not least, Legally Blonde. We are so happy to have Dr. Sydney Lehman Steen with us today to share her thoughts on with faith, with hope, and with fingers crossed. Dr. Sydney, take it away.
Well, thank you very much. It's so good to see everybody. And I feel like I've come, well, I always feel like I've come home with any of the ANTN things that happen. And that was from the very first time that I was part of an ANTN event, which I believe was 2016. We did a cruise, and that was where I received my degrees and ordinations. And I just have always felt like this is home. This is the place. Raised in this teaching. When I was I think I was about 8 or 9, my parents separated, and my mom took my brother and me we were in the South Bay in Southern California. We were in Manhattan Beach, and my mom moved with us to the location where every newly divorced woman went with her children back in 1968 or 9, whatever that was, and to Newport Beach. And it was a little sleepy beach town, and I'm thinking of some of the funny things about that. Where we lived, there was apparently a nickname called Alimony Alley. This was the late 60s, remember? And one time my mom, she remembered that I came home from going to visit a new girlfriend, and I came home and I said, Mommy, she has a live-in dad. So, which was a little unique because there were so many, as I said, newly separated women and newly divorced women with their kids. So we started going to Unity. One of my aunts had found Unity and dragged my mom, who dragged me. And very, very shortly after that, we found this fireball of a minister whose name was Eleanor Jackson. And this was, Abigail, I knew somebody would remember Eleanor. So Eleanor Jackson was the minister at, I think it was the Newport Beach Church of Religious Science. And it was this just wonderful little building attached to several other wonderful little buildings. And I remember the very first time I went, and at the end of the service, and I didn't want to go to where the kids were. There were only about 4 kids, and they were young and noisy. So I came back into what we called Big Church. I came back in, and at the end of the service, as people sang the peace song, and they all lifted their hands like this, as we do. And Eleanor was this little tiny thing, and she walked underneath the hands. I happened to be sitting on the aisle. And as she walked past me, she put her hand like this on my belly. And I felt this jolt of electricity go through me. I've never forgotten that. And so many of the things that I know and remember about truth have come from that experience. And she would brook no fools, and she would brook nothing but absolute. And yet she was powerful. She came from a background of orthodoxy, of Catholic orthodoxy, and she had studied with, I think probably with, oh my God, I'm trying to think who she had studied with, but some of this, I know she didn't study directly with Ernest Holmes, but she studied with the ones who had studied with him. So she was one degree of separation from that, only no separation, our teaching. So it was very powerful to me. This title came to me because what I'm aware of, and I think for those of us who are leaders, teachers, practitioners, it probably applies more to our students, our clients, this idea of with faith, with hope, and with fingers crossed, because we do our spiritual work, we do our treatments, we engage with the principle, and we get excited. We use the words of energy, we use the words of excitement. We are able to generate lots of passion and energy and emotion, lots of feeling around this, and we get done with our treatments. And so it is, I hope, with our fingers crossed. And again, I think this often applies more to the people with whom we work, because I see it a lot I see it actually. And Reverend Robin Wolford is one of our staff ministers, so I think she can verify this. I see this with our practitioners too, because they may not have as dynamic a practice as I would like them to have, but it is this thing of, well, I've done all the work. If God likes me today, and it's that buried thing, well, if God is off the anger meds, then I'm screwed. But if God is being the loving God, then I think it's okay, which tells me so many things, because I will hear these conversations. I will overhear these conversations after a service when I'm kind of walking around the patio, mingling with people and welcoming them. And it is the organ recital. We get a lot of organ recitals. Like many of you, our congregation skews more towards the older side than younger side, although we are dropping down in age, and that's good. I mean, I don't want to lose our wisdom keepers, but we are also expanding. So we are open at the top, and apparently we're open at the bottom too. Hear that as you will, but I know we're open at the sides, and that's what really matters to me, because that's the whole inclusivity factor. That's that thing. But what I want to say is that, and this is something that one of my teachers before I became senior minister at this church, Mark Vieira, used to say, we think of God as either Santa Claus, divine bellhop, or hitman, combination of all three. And Robin is smiling. I see that, because that's what we do, like, oh, I know that God is love, and man, this person really hurt me. Well, their karma is going to come true. and please God, it used to be the vending machine God. If I want a BMW, now it's more of the divine, bless me with my health request God. We have a lot of work to do, and moving from God 1.0, 2.0 to 3.0. And I teach this in my classes and in my talks, that 1.0 is the Old Testament God who had a lot of anger issues, was very, very moody and capricious, and mostly, as I said earlier, seemed to have fallen off his anger meds. God 2.0, second, New Testament God, in my mind, the guys in marketing came to him and said, and I don't do anthropomorphic God, but this works for the illustration. But the guys in marketing said, well, sir, it's not really working. This anger thing, this resentment thing, this getting even thing is really rough. People aren't buying into it, and people aren't, the threatening, believe or I'm going to smite you thing is not working very well. We need to rebrand you, God. And so God became rebranded in the New Testament as the kinder, gentler God. Still up here, still the God of personality. And that's the big thing right there, because the personality God is the one that we see through all of our projections of those parents who were close to us or not so close to us. I had a dad who left. So how much of my projection of God is about that dad who left? Even though he loved me to the best of his ability, do we have a limping, broken God? So then we come to God 3.0, and that's the God of presence. That is the God of presence. And that's what I seek to remember, to reveal, and to practice every day. And I seek to encourage that and cultivate that in the classes that we teach, in the clients I work with, and the words that I say, because I really want people to move beyond the God who plays favorites, the God who has the issues that their parents or their siblings or anybody else had around them. I want to move into this God of presence, not personality, because that's where we get that in, as, and through concept. As I was working with this title of faith, hope, and fingers crossed, I remembered another teacher. You're going to hear me drop a lot of names. Jim Terrell, years ago, when he first moved from Florida to Southern California, he started teaching a class called Visionary. And one of the things that he brought forth that has always landed and always been present within me was positive thinking doesn't work. What does work, because positive thinking is whipped cream on garbage, to quote Helen Street. Positive thinking, not always, but I mean, it is part of the sauce around whatever is going on in our life. Productive thinking. If we can move into productive thinking, and this, of course, needs to happen during and after our spiritual practices, but productive thinking, positive action. Productive thinking, positive action. And I teach this idea of active faith, act of faith. So in other words, if we want faith, we need to move into those activities, those practices that demonstrate we have faith, or we'll begin to create the idea, the act as if faith within us. So in other words, as Ernest Holmes said, we prepare for our demonstration. We make room for the demonstration. We make room within ourselves. If it's a physical thing we are looking for with our health, what is it that we need to do to become that space and that place for spirit to act through us and as us, as that wholeness? If it is a demonstration we are seeking that is in the world of effect, the world of form, do we have room for it? Do we have room for that? Do we need a new car? Have you cleaned out your garage? We need, like my office right now is showing a lot of divine clutter, and I'm in the midst of reorganizing all of it and doing some reorganizing at our church. So I get that if I'm going to have new ideas and new inspiration and new ways of approaching this teaching, because as you know, we always need to find new ways to say the same thing 52 Sundays a year, then I need to declutter not just my thinking, but the stuff around me. And often the greatest movement in consciousness I experience is when I have cleaned out the crap that is surrounding me, the physical stuff, because it is a demonstration. Absolutely. It's a reflection of what I'm still holding in here. It's what it's spiritual roto-rooter often starts out here. In getting rid of the stuff that no longer represents not just who I am, but who I want to be in the demonstration that I want to experience. one of my practitioners in training, she called it, it's like a solonoscopy. And I thought, well, that absolutely works. It's a soul anoscopy because we are cleansing. We are constantly cleansing. And so, part of my, yes, I have my to-do lists, but part of it is, okay, it's definitely time to do that oscopy on the physical surroundings in my office here at my house and in my home, purging stuff. And I do like my stuff. I do have to confess to that. I like my furniture. I like my stuff. And I think most of my house is probably furnished through Marketplace and maybe Craigslist and buy nothing. I don't know, maybe I just enjoy the hunt. My son calls it catch and release. And he'll say, oh, I see mom did catch and release with a chair. Okay, interesting. Okay, that works for me. But it's a matter of, am I moving? Am I keeping the stuff moving? So when I come back to this idea of active faith and productive thinking, active positive action, what do I need to do to prepare for the demonstration, inside and outside? And I am always looking at that. I mentioned Helen Street earlier, and she used to say this, and I know that we have a lot of creatives in our communities, and so I work with them, and often it might be an artist who's saying, I haven't gotten any commissions lately. I'm a painter. I haven't gotten any commissions, and I really want to be painting. And I say, paint your bathroom. The law needs to know you are serious, but that means the law within you needs to know that you are committed to this. And if your bathroom doesn't need painting, mine does. Come on up here to my house and you can paint my bathroom. I'll buy the supplies. But if you're a painter, put a brush in your hand. Put a brush in your hand. And I saw this a number of times with different communities where, in fact, there was one young man at the Glendale church years ago where he did these beautiful murals, beautiful, but he was not seeing any activity. So Helen Street said, come give us a mural. So he got about 2/3 of the way through it and his phone started ringing off the hook. So he had to schedule time to finish, but also to book all of his other work, because when we are convicted in our faith, meaning we are actively living in that, we actually grow our faith. We grow our faith, and expecting to have that faith first and then do the action is like expecting to have the courage first and then do that thing that we're afraid of. Fear, inaction, all of that stuff, that's going to ride on our shoulders. And I am a master procrastinator. And so I have to recognize that little bird is sitting there saying, where can we delay growth here? Okay. And so I have to just move forward anyway, knowing that it's going to be sitting there. I'm going to hear the voice. Thank you for sharing, voice. And not today. Not today, at least not this hour, maybe 5 o'clock, but at 3 o'clock, I'm going to do this. So that's where I am with this idea of moving beyond our wishful thinking. I really want us to move beyond that. And that's why I am so passionate about education, and whether people get the practitioner licenses or they are ordained, I want them to use the teaching. I want to use the teaching. I believe in this so thoroughly. And so I know I hop around a lot as I'm speaking, but my life is about looking for metaphors everywhere. And how am I using the teaching? How is it showing up? How is what is within me that is calling for emergence, transformation, or growth showing up as a reflection in my life? Now, life is such a reflection for me. I get the metaphor all the time. It'll be, if I'm having a physical challenge, I can really, really almost immediately now access what that is symbolizing. What is that in action, or rather that physical thing? What is it symbolizing in action? Is it symbolizing something else in my life that I need to be aware of? Because as we all know, spirit will get our attention in a way that we will listen. And so I am very conscious about, okay, what is showing up? What am I reflecting? What is the mirror showing me? And as much as I want to comb the mirror when my hair is messy, I get that I have to start with me first. So I'm going to take a breath here. Are there comments or questions, or Dr. Michelle, what would you like me to do?
Yes. You are doing it perfectly. This is so rich and so juicy. And yes, we're going to open it up in a minute to
Okay.
comments or questions, and then we'll just feed off of those. If you would please, because there's so many of you online here, if you would please use the tool of raising your hand, which is under the React button on your screen. If you would do that, yes, Dr. Michelle, I see you, but I want to say one thing first, and that is, Sydney, I loved your conversation about the decluttering. It's so important that we do that, and I want to actually offer all of you guys a challenge that I just took a whole group of people that I have in a class through. And it was profound, not only in the outer, but more importantly, in the inner. So here's the challenge, if you're up for it. 9 days, 9 consecutive days. If you miss a day, you start over again. So don't miss a day. 9 consecutive days of clearing out 27 things a day.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? That's the response. Like, no way. Oh, believe me, you've got enough to do that. I didn't think I had enough to do that, but oh, I have so much more than that. But I won't go into all the details of, but you know, the sacred number, not of the sacredness of number 9, and we've got 9s going on all over in this. It's a profound spiritual experience, and you wind up with a much neater place. So you free your mind and your physicality with this challenge. So I offer it. 27-9 is what the challenge is called.
I like that. That's going to make my husband really happy if I do that.
Yeah.
He's not a gatherer.
Cute. I love it. Now remember, this is not a what is it? Catch and release right now. This is just a release.
This is just release.
This is just a release.
Oh my God.
Right. Dr. Michelle Wadley, so good to see you here. Please.
Yeah, thank you. My beloved to be here today. It's really good. And Sydney, I love hearing you. Usually we're so impersonal or on business, so it's great to hear you in your glory. I have suspicions about why and where metaphysics started. I'm going to be rude for a second, dumbing down.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know, like when I first came in, I was always a metaphysician, but I wasn't always science of mind, right? And so when I came in, I loved the absoluteness. And I'm not sure where we started watering it down. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about that.
Oh, I have lots of thoughts about that. Thank you. Okay. I don't like religious science light. I don't like unity light. I don't like metaphysics light. I think that when there was this collective, apparently, and I don't know who stood there in the role of decision making, but I think it was maybe a lot of people that we saw how popular, God bless him, Wayne Dyer was, how popular Deepak Chopra, how popular, how the mass marketing of Terry Cole Whitaker, all of whom, and I have to kind of be delicate around Deepak. I've never been crazy about his teachings, so it was not a difficult thing for me to say, okay, well, I'm not going to be working with that anyway, because I really never have actively embraced some of the stuff that he taught. But that's me. But Wayne taught deep stuff. Terry Cole Whitaker taught deep stuff, but it has become so accessible, or we wanted it to be accessible, and thinking, well, that's the way in. Maybe crystals are the way in. Maybe just positive thinking is the way in. Maybe all of that. Those are tools, but they're not the way in. And perhaps they have stood as proxies for doing the actual work, because maybe we just don't want to do the actual work. Yeah, so I'm heartened to hear that you feel that way, because I have been looking at that for a long time. And when I see classes or books that are which I think, well, here's a deep principle, but it is watered down. I really want us to go back to learning how to walk before we start learning how to fly and use jetpacks, because I want us to understand the deep work within, because, we're all going to have our 9/11s. We're all going to have them. And if we haven't done the deeper work, or we're not connected with someone who is deeply connected, if we have a client who doesn't do the work, or we as ministers, if we have clients that don't do the work, at least if they know they can turn to deep consciousness with us and use the rent-a consciousness and move into that space, that healing space, then the 9/11, it lands and it doesn't leave. Does that make sense? So yeah, the dumbing down really is frustrating. So thanks for asking that.
Thank you. Skip.
Yeah, I think I'm going to prompt her to talk about something, because I love this woman so much. And we get to do something very special that I haven't seen a lot in a lot of our New Thought communities. Is that word that we don't really like to use, or when we use it, it is not always used in the most deepest spiritual way, inclusivity. And what I love about Dr. Sydney is we are unapologetically inclusive. And I love her commitment to that. And Dr. Sydney, I would love for you just to speak to that right now as we are closing out Pride Month. And we're having a inclusivity service that I get to speak at on Sunday. And we're starting our new LGBTQA plus ministry. I believe under her leadership, she's guiding us into a new place where we're not just embracing the color or the sexuality, or we're embracing everyone. And I love how she says from the pulpit, we say it doesn't matter who you love, where you've been, who you voted for, which I think is a very important part of what her ministry is. So Dr. Sydney, you got to talk about that.
Of course. Thank you for that prompt. I appreciate it. And if you don't know, Reverend Skip is the associate minister at our center. And so we have a lot of fun co-creating, collaborating, and dancing this dance together. But inclusivity is one of those things where there are times when I see reactions out in the world. We do live in a bubble. Our teaching can be in a bubble. But I see things in the world and I just go like that, because I can't believe that we are still so collectively concerned about where people put their genitals. It's really, it surprises me, because I've never understood why that matters. It matters to the person. Okay, I don't want to get too crude. I was about to say it matters to the person and their genitals, but but as a population, it's none of my freaking business. But what I know is there's been so much injury, there's been so much damage, there's been so much trauma around that to the degree that we can show moving beyond acceptance, because acceptance suggests that there's still a hierarchy of allowing, of permission, of, well, yeah, I accept you where you are. It's that understanding that we are one, and that brings in a bigger word, which is compassion. It brings in a bigger word, which is humanity. It is humanity. It's shared humanity. And it's about having a sense of, I love you regardless. I may not like you, but I love you regardless. And we have people, I know we all do in our communities, that we're not really, that's what it's, Celeste. It's only a wee one and everyone has one. It's only a wee and everyone has one. That's funny. Exactly. Celeste, I've missed you.
Excuse me for jumping in. It's a song.
Yes,
And
I
it
saw
says,
that.
as soon as you're born to decide what you'll be, they look in your pants to see how you pee.
Oh my God, that's perfect. And so it is this thing of, if we really mean what we say, then we need to be moving in that. And I always, when I heard this phrase of wherever you are on the gender spectrum, and I thought that works for me so well, because we are all, I know most of us have probably seen the indigenous cultures interpretation of gender, and there's something like 7 or 8 different variations. And I'm going to say there are probably many beyond that. So being a safe space for that is absolutely important. And we model it in our centers. We model it in our relationships. In my family alone, we have lots of diversity in that space. And the diversity with with my son's girlfriend's middle child, who is known for years that although born as a male, that this child, who's now, I think, 10, is absolutely unicorn all across the spectrum, all across the spectrum. And we don't hesitate to give this beautiful, beautiful child, and I'm still learning to say they, I still make those mistakes. And I remind Luke all the time that I'm going to do this wrong. So correct me, please. But I am unhesitatingly, when I'm out like looking for clothes, oh, there's a sparkly skirt, I'm getting that for Luke. And Luke is also athletic, so Luke likes to play soccer and basketball. So it's all of that and so much more. And I don't know if that addressed what you are calling for, Reverend Skip, but that's where I am. And I hope that it is clear in the way I am with people.
Beautiful, Sydney. Thank you. And Bill, before I go to you, I just want to throw something out to everyone. A year or so ago, we had a Thought Leader Thursday with Deborah Johnson, where the topic was what's in a pronoun. And if you're interested in digging into what Dr. Sydney just said about the spectrum of gender, go back. You can watch that on our YouTube channel. Go back and watch that. It is eye-opening and brilliant. So Thought Leader Thursday, yeah. What's in a pronoun, I believe is the title, and it's Dr. Deb Johnson. So,
and she's fierce in this. She's so
fierce.
Good. And yet it's fierce love. It's just this love. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Bill.
Oh, thank you. Then wonderful conversation, wonderful point, Sydney. You brought up the organ recital, but you didn't explain it.
Oh.
So, and I had not heard the term before, and I figured it out. So you need to close the loop on that one.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
it. That's before my actual comment.
Okay, hold me accountable. Anybody at any time, please. I appreciate that. So the organ recital is all of those complaints we hear from people and ourselves about our health. Oh, my hip. Oh, well, my digestion right now. Or God, if I could only lose this 20 pounds. Or, well, how you doing with that? You have migraines, right? Or whatever that thing. And it's the organs. Well, my doctor says my liver is, and it goes on and on and on. And when I hear our practitioners, I kind of want to slap them around, and which of course would result in more organ recitals because I would cause some pain. But yeah, it is that physical. It's the health and wellness report. My mom used to refer to this to her mother-in-law. We'd get the letter when I was a kid every 2 weeks or so from Luetta, who my dad's mom, who lived in Florida, and would talk about all of the health woes for all of the people in the trailer park in Bradenton, Florida, Sarasota area. And my mom called it the Sarasota Health Report, because Luetta would go on and on with name after name after name, people we didn't know, just talking about all of their maladies and all of their problems, as opposed to all of their wholenesses. So,
yeah. So the actual point that I wanted to make was Michelle Wadley brought up, how did the teaching get dumbed down? And my suspicion is it's the same marketing department that took God from God 1.0 to 2.0, because the job started with Napoleon Hill, who said, here is a wonderful metaphysical practice. Let's tell people how people who got rich, and they can start doing that. Now, if you want to have a difficult time getting somebody into the community, you can say, sometime in your future, don't know when it's going to be, don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be an event, a betrayal, a failure, the turnaround that's going to leave you so bereft that you have a dark night of the soul. We want to help you get ready for that.
Yeah, good times.
Right. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a tough sell. And, you know, some people have figured out, let's just do the happy stuff while people are in a good mood, and then they can decide that metaphysics doesn't work when things go sideways all on their own.
That's I think you're right. I agree with you fully.
Yeah, 100%. We've got several hands up, and I just have to say one more thing. It's not good to let me be the leader of this because I have a comment on everything. But I am reminded, since you rolled it back to that topic of preparing for when things fall apart and then you're not prepared. My favorite quote in the Science of Mind textbook, and I cannot tell you what page it's on right now, but it's my textbook actually automatically opens to this page when I open it. And I'm paraphrasing the beginning of it, but it goes like this: to abandon the truth in the hour of need is to prove that you didn't, to abandon the one in the hour of need is to prove you didn't believe in it in the first place.
Yep.
And I have watched that as a minister of 30 years. I've watched people who can say the affirmations, can listen. You know, I had one congregant who listened to my sermon. He would tell me, I listened to it 4 times this week, and yet a crisis hit, and it literally, not because of physicality, but the crisis that hit literally killed him. And it wasn't a physical issue that hit, but the crisis that hit literally killed him because he did not have depth. He did not have depth. So I'm so glad we're talking about this. Dr. Ruth, who I know will always talk about depth.
Well, and before we jump into that, I just want to add, I want to build on that. And that's this God 1.0, 2.0 is all about outsourcing our God, outsourcing our faith, outsourcing our wisdom, outsourcing our strength, outsourcing our response in those things that happen rather than insourcing. So thank you for saying that. Hey, Ruth.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. So, wow. Yeah, you guys are blowing my mind. I love it. And I hope you're blowing thousands of minds out there. And there's another way to do what you're calling the organ recital, and that's to go back to games people play, Eric Byrne. It's the Ain't It Awful game. My awful is worse than your awful. And, you know, it's small talk in America. It's right. And so my technique has been, when I'm working with the board, whenever you hear that, I encourage you to say, isn't something wonderful? You know, wasn't the music wonderful? Wasn't the talk wonderful? Isn't so-and-so's hair, that pin, anything wonderful
to disrupt the, I got it.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, Sydney.
Yeah, so much of what we do is about disrupting the narrative. It's like when I was raising our son, when we were raising our son, we decided that the main job of parenting was distraction. We could just distract him away from whatever that thing was that he was currently upset about, you know, then we could move, not necessarily denying or burying, but, you know, let's shift the attention here. What can we do?
Love it. I love it. I love it. Reverend Celeste.
Yes, indeed. A very brief commercial for a workshop I am giving as part of the ANTN retreat, and it's on Zoom, so you can all dial in whenever it is scheduled for. It's called When Life Gives You Elephants, and it's about canceling out the organ recital by labeling it elephant and then treating for whatever it is that you desire to demonstrate instead.
Nice. Very good.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Look forward to that. Thank you. Shay.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I want to talk some more about the organ report because as someone who has suffered from lots of physical mind-body symptoms for a long time and still am, I find it difficult to be transparent and honest with myself and others about what I'm actually going through. So it's like, what's the antidote besides spiritual bypassing for people who really are suffering like I do? And I work with lots of people who are suffering. So there's a very interesting, conflict for me around being transparent and I don't know, help me out here of like, I'm kind of searching for the actual question, but what is the antidote to or the relationship between these people who are like poor me and the people like who have an authentic, really serious problem, who like need help. So if you could discuss that, that would be very helpful for me.
And it took me some time to be able to incorporate and own the absolute within myself, and to remember that not everybody was there. And that meant cultivating a greater sense of remembering to go immediately to compassion and heart. And so that's what I have to do, is I have to go to compassion and say, wow, that's a lot. I can see that's hard. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'll, and if it's a quick thing, how do I support you? But I'll tell you what, not that many years ago, but I asked 3 questions. And again, this is sort of my go-to. And again, it's what I will offer people is the first question. The first question for me is, what is there for me to know about that? What does Spirit want me to know? Is there something for me to know? And again, another name, years ago, my first Asilomar, 1985, Arlene Bump standing up there talking about this. Is there something for me to know? What does Spirit want me to know about this? And that's the first question for me to ask when I'm in that, is there wisdom here? Is there information? Is there guidance? Is there something, especially for me, if it's a physical thing, like I said, life shows up as metaphor. And if I have a pain in my body, it's corresponding to something that's going on in my life and how I am dealing or not dealing with it, or how I am handling it spiritually or not handling it spiritually. So that's the first question, is what does Spirit want me to know? The next question for me is, who am I to be in this? Who am I to be? And for me, it's generally the remembering that, oh, that's right. I am spirit in expression. There is that part of me that is still whole, that is absolutely fully connected, that is fully receptive, and that knows everything and loves me, loves as me, to remind myself who I am. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves that a lot. Who am I? Who am I? And who am I to be in this? Whether it's the 9/11 out in the world or the one within my own soul. And that none of these questions aren't to be responded to lightly. They're not that, sometimes I do have to ask them when I'm in line at the grocery store and that person in front of me has like 37 items and I'm supposed to only have 10. And, Thomasina Troward here, I am a good judge. I am such a good judge. So I have to come back to, who am I to be? And then finally, the last question, I think this is the one that people ask way too soon. What is mine to do?
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to go to doing. Doing feels active. Doing feels productive. Doing feels like we have some control. Doing feels like we're not helpless. And all of that is valid. So we may have to ask those questions all at the same time. But I always try to anchor in the first 2 before I answer the third one, because I don't want to just be reactive. I want to respond from a deeper place that allows for deeper connection. So what is mine to know? Who am I to be? What is mine to do? And I remember years ago when I started hearing that phrase, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? What is mine? Especially as we entered into a time of political siloing, for lack of a better word, and people reacting, and yes, responding, but reacting. What is mine to do? Well, it may not be to fight immediately. It may not be to resist immediately. It may not be, and I'm the worst offender. It may not be to just share all of the inflammatory stuff on Facebook and share it and comment. And it's sort of my purging. So I'm guilty. I own it. I do it because I will have that reactive sense of me, but it's all part of who I am. So, thorns, what I like to tell people, love me, love my muffin tops, so love me worse than all muffins and all. It's just how I tend to be. I don't have to, but sometimes that's it. But can we go from reacting to responding? And it's an anchoring place. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Reverend Jeff, so nice to see you. You're up.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michelle. It's nice to see you again. It's been a long time.
It has.
First, thank you, Shay, for asking the question, because that's the question that I would have asked if it had come to me. And thank you for such a wonderful answer, because that answer, as well, Dr. Sidney, as would have been what I was would have been hoping to hear. As a matter of fact, it's what I've been experiencing the past couple of months. Back at the end of April, I took a fall in my home, and it's basically a severely broken arm, which required surgical repair. It took I'm a veteran, and was in the hospital for about a month before they were able to find me a good rehabilitation place to go and get rehabbed. So in the meantime, because they weren't able to do anything, and I was not able to work with a VA physical therapist at the time, I was there on the flat of my back for about a month. Now, if you don't get out of bed and walk and do all the things that you used to do, you lose that ability. So by the time I got to the rehab place, I was pretty much total care. I couldn't stand up. I could not walk. And I've been here for just about a month. And right now, the physical therapist has got me up doing stuff. It's been years that I've done, including climbing stairs. So, all those things that you mentioned, the three questions, that we've gone through, I've already gone through those, because those were what I was asking myself as I was going through this experience. Why me? What is mine to do? All this stuff like that. And I came to the conclusion, well, I've still got stuff to do. I'm like, my favorite story out of the Bible comes from the Old Testament. It's the story of Esther, Queen Esther, who was, a Jewish person in captivity, who came to save her people from extinction, from the people who held them captive. And it was her uncle who said, who knows why you're here, but you were brought here for such a time as this. My time here is not over. I have a purpose to be here. And it was because I fell and broke my arm, ended up in rehab, and went through this entire process that things started moving. And like Shay, I have experienced numerous mind-body disconnections where I've had my entire adult life, it's been one medical issue after another. And
Jeff, I'm gonna have to ask you to wrap.
I'm drawn to an end.
Thank you, my friend.
But during this experience, a lot of these issues have dissipated. They've gone away. So there is a blessing in all of the negativity, because we realize we're one with Spirit. There is a purpose, and what's ours to do is just to align with Spirit.
Beautiful.
Well, and
thank you.
Metaphysically, Esther in captivity, that feminine is still giving birth, is still emerging, is still creating, and cannot be constrained by the limitation around her. So we still have the feminine, that divine feminine within each of us, that is still creating, still producing, still bringing forth. And therefore to pay attention to that too, that we have all of those aspects within us. It is that heroine that is still there, that hero that cannot be limited by appearances or conditions, even though we have the conditions. And God bless Advil, and God bless all of that stuff, because God, through the pill, through the therapist, through the doctor, through all of it, and the prayer. So thank you for sharing that, Jeff.
Thank you so much. Wow, this has been amazing, just truly amazing. Dr. Sidney, I would love to find out, and I think maybe you just did it, but let me ask, final thoughts, final thought you want to leave us with before we go to a couple of announcements, and then bring our time to a close. But what are you going to leave us with, my friend? You've given us so much, but what are you going to leave us with?
Oh, we are too serious. We need to remember that this presence, whether we call it God or Yeshua or Gaia or Fred, is love, is joy, and is wanting to express in happiness and delight. And we get so involved in the what's not working and forget that we are these magnificent beings, and there's still magnificence to be brought forth. There's still, it's not just work to do, but there's joy to celebrate. There's love to celebrate. And we need to remember to oh my God, be silly. You know, Helen Street, again, used to say, why do you think God created giraffes? Just for the whimsy. So don't forget the whimsy and the joy and the happy. You got to balance it out. Stuff will suck, but you know, beyond the sucking, there's a lot of joy. So we just keep moving through it. So
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your light, your energy, your joy with us. You have been, it's been profound and really, really beautiful. We're all very blessed.
My pleasure. I am so honored that I got to do this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Bill, I'm going to turn it over to you for some announcements.
It has gotten to the point with the affiliated New Thought Network where we don't have to remember what to announce. We have to figure out what's the most important stuff to announce because there's an awful lot that's going on. You can visit the website, ANTN.org, and get all of the information there. The big one that we're focused on is the annual retreat coming up the first week in October at Unity Village. It's going to be Howard Caesar is our keynote speaker, and Deb Johnson is going to be there as well, and a bunch of other notable people with some really, really powerful stuff that's going on in the program. Early bird registration is still open. Go to the website, anton.org, and you can register and save yourself $50 by being one of those kids who did not wait until the last minute, Sydney. You're registered. So that's a big one. We've got lots of events going on all the time. People have started telling me, you know, I'm getting multiple emails from Anton every day. And it's like, because we're doing multiple events every day and you're getting reminded that they're coming up. This afternoon, a little bit later on, there's going to be a New Thought Visioning Circle where the group is going to get together and vision for what is next for the New Thought movement. Other events that go on a weekly and a monthly basis, and so forth. There's the feature on the website that I just wanted to give a shout out to. It's member books. So you can go to the store and look at member books, and that's got the books that are authored by Anton members. And if you are an Anton member and have a book, you can publish your, you can post your book there. It's pretty affordable. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because we also have an Anton book table at the retreat at the vendor fair. And if your book is on the Anton member book list, then you have the opportunity to send your books in, and Anton will sell them on your behalf and send back some of the money. So there's more announcements, but like go find the Easter eggs on the website.
Thank you, Bill. And Bill, for those of you who don't know, Bill is our administrator and the glue that holds Anton together. So thank you, Bill, for all that you do to make Anton what it is. Bless you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you again, Dr. Sydney. Thank you all for being here, for your questions. And now here's a little bit of a treat for us. Oh, it's breakfast this morning. All right, all the calories removed, Steve, right?
Hey, you have to have something to be sweet about.
Oh, that's adorable. I just went into sugar shock, Steve. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, and shout out to Jeannie Sofer, who found us on YouTube and is watching the stream there live.
Oh. Excellent. Great.
Excellent. Hi, Jeannie. Bye, Jeannie. Bye, all.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Blessings.
Bye. Thank you. Appreciate it.